In this session, we're going to be recalling and retelling the main events of the story we've been looking at, The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark. And we're going to finish this section of our learning by creating a summary of this story. So retelling those main events in our own words, nice and concisely, to share with an audience. But before we start, let's think back to what's happened so far. We've read all 7 chapters now. What would you say are the key events in the story of The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark? So I want you to pause, I want you to think about these, and I want you to be able to summarise what you think are the main things that actually happened in our story. Come and join me once you've shared that with someone. So now you've had an opportunity to think about what's happened so far in the story. We're going to look at some of the events that took place, and we're going to see if we can put these in chronological order to show the events of this story. So my first question to you is, what does chronological mean? So we're going to be given the events and we need to put them into chronological order. So pause the video, have a little think, and come and join me for the answer. So in this instance, chronological means we're going to put some events in the order in which they occurred. So we're going to start with the earliest and move through to the very last one. So let's see how we can do this. So here we can see we have 6 different events, and each event has its own letter. And we're going to have to put these into the order that we think they occurred in. So this is going to be a time where you're probably going to want to pause this video, have a little think, but I'm going to read through each one just before you do that. And then what the aim will be is, if you think A is first, you can say A, B second would be B, and so on, depending what order. But if you thought that F was first, for example, F would be the very first letter you would write, and then you'd be looking for the one which comes straight after it. So let's have a little look at these 6 different events. So A, we're told he finally meets a black cat who shows him how beautiful the night is. B, each time they tell him a reason why dark is a good thing, not a scary thing. C, Plop decides that he does like the dark after all, and that he is finally a night bird. D, Plop's mother tells him he needs to learn more about the dark, so he isn't afraid. E, Plop still finds it hard to like the dark, even though people keep telling him it is good. F, Plop leaves his branch to go and talk to different people about the dark. So now your task is going to be to use the letters to show which order you think these sentences should go in. So we're going to put all these events into that chronological order, that order in which they occurred from the earliest through to the last. So all you need to do, piece of paper, and just write the letter and then of the first event, then the letter of the second event, and the third event, until you've got all 6 letters put in the order that you think they are. So now it's time to pause the video and come and join me when you're ready to start looking at the answer. So let's take a look at what our order was actually, and be thinking whether you put them in the same order. So our first was D. Plop's mother tells him he needs to learn more about the dark, so he isn't afraid of it. Our second event was F. Plop leaves his branch to go and talk to different people about the dark. The third event in the sequence is B. Each time they tell him a reason why dark is a good thing, not a scary thing. The fourth event is Plop still finds it hard to like the dark, even though people keep telling him it is a good thing. Our fifth and penultimate event is A. He finally meets a black cat who shows him how beautiful the night is. And our final event, the 6th thing that happens, is Plop decides that he does like the dark after all, and that he is finally a night bird. So there's the 6 big events that happened, but of course we had our 7 chapters, so he meets different people. So if we think about F and B, he leaves his branch to go to talk to different people about dark, and each time they tell him a reason why dark is a good thing and not a scary thing. What we're going to do now is look at those characters, and your job now is to decide what order did each of these characters appear in the story. So again, thinking about chronological order, who came first, who came last, and we've got our 7 people: the Boy Scout, the Father Christmas Lady, Orion the Black Cat, the little boy, the man with the telescope, the old lady, and the little girl with the ponytail. So can you put these in order? Pause the video, write their names in sequence starting with the very first one, going all the way through to the very last one, and then join me when you're ready to see how we got on. So our very first person we met was the little boy. So now we know the order of these characters. Can you remember what they thought about the dark and why they felt that way? Have a little pause, think about these 7 characters, their 7 reasons why they thought the dark was good and their reasoning for why they felt that way, and then come and join me when you're ready to go through each chapter. So in chapter 1, the little boy said that dark is exciting, and his reason? Well, it was because he gets to watch fireworks and have a bonfire. In chapter 2, the old lady said dark is kind, and her reason for that? Well, because it hides her age and helps her remember good times. In chapter 3, the Boy Scout said dark is fun, and his reasoning was because they can have campfires, they can sing songs and play games in the dark. In our 4th chapter, the little girl with the ponytail said dark is necessary, and her reason was because without it, Father Christmas wouldn't come. So we can see our first 4 chapters. Let's move on to our final 3. In chapter 5, the Father Christmas lady said dark was fascinating, and this is because of all the interesting animals that come out at night time, those ones that she drew in the back of her book, remember. In chapter 6, the man with the telescope said dark is wonderful, and this was because of all the stars and constellations you can see and study. And in our final chapter, that chapter where Plop goes from a day bird to a night bird, Orion the black cat said dark is beautiful because there's lots of different kinds of beautiful nights in all the different seasons. So how much of that did you remember? Can you remember anything else about the story? Have a little think about that, and then I want you to answer this question. What would you say was your favourite part of the story, The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark, and why? Pause the video, have a little think about that and share your ideas with someone. So now it's your turn. It's your turn to retell the story of the owl who was afraid of the dark. I want you to summarise each of the 7 chapters. So that means think just about the key events that take place in these chapters. Say them in your own words. Add little bits if you want to add little bits. It doesn't need to be word perfect. But be thinking about all those different 7 events that we've looked at. So think about your chapter 1. What are you going to tell me about the dark is exciting? For chapter 2, what are you going to tell me about the dark is kind? Chapter 3, the dark is fun. Chapter 4, the dark is necessary. Chapter 5, dark is fascinating. Chapter 6, the dark is wonderful. And finally, chapter 7, the dark is beautiful. Be thinking about those patterns that we have here. So we know that we're going to have Plop in his nest hole and asking for food. He then leaves the nest hole and finds someone who tells him all about why the dark's a really good place. He then returns to the nest hole where he explains to his parents what he's just found out. And then the next chapter continues following that same pattern. So you're going to write it in your own words. On the website you'll find a lovely little template to create your own book, should you want to. Alternatively, you could do it in any method you want. Maybe you want to do it as a comic strip, maybe you could do it as a little play script. I'll let you choose it. All that matters is you get those key events, adding the detail that you think is important to the reader, and get that put down so you can share it with an audience. So good luck with this, and I really look forward to seeing the work that you create on this one.